Hey there's Wisconsin Wine Guy. We are back with another wine review. You can see the wines here have the minis. You know, spring is coming, summer is coming, and maybe you just want to be the only one drinking a sparkling wine indoors champagne at your gathering for Easter, right? So thereby, that's where these minis come in at. And I just love minis because it's single serve, of a beverage of my choosing, and it just goes down great. And it's just all mine, 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 right? Or all yours in the case. So for those who are new, these are wines that you can find wherever you shop for wine, liquor store, grocery store, and some wine shop shelves. I make a selection, do a sample, do a taste, and let you know what I think, give you my honest opinion what I think about these wines. And I do that with the infamous thumbs up system. Thumbs up says I recommend that wine. It's a pretty solid wine. Can't go wrong with it. 3/4. You know what? It may not be age worthy, but it is a wine that I would drink every single day. Okay? Halfway. Ooh, something about that wine just wasn't working for my palate. Doesn't make it a bad wine, but you taste it and let the rest of us know. Thumbs down. Always an easy one, right? Thumbs down. So Chandon is the wine. You can see that. And I was doing some reading on Chandon. Of course, I knew about the whole Moet Chandon and Moet Hennessy. Know about all of that, but something I didn't know that I found out, which made it even more intriguing, was that Chandon, for we just talk about Chandon, Chandon is a winery. They produce sparkling wines and champagne out of Yountville, California, in Napa. Okay? But what they did was they've expanded and broadened their portfolio. So I was looking this up. I say from California and beyond. So Chandon has wineries in Argentina, California, of course, Brazil, Australia, China, and India, producing the wines that have made them famous, or the sparkling wines that have made them famous, and utilizing the local grapes and the local idea, but their methods in producing delicious wines and sparkling wines in those areas. So how cool is that, right? So now, let's bring this to today. Both of these are non-vintage. I have the Chandon Brut Rosé, and I have the Chandon Brut. Both of these are made with the grapes Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Pinot Meunier. That being said, the Rosé is going to have a lesser amount of Chardonnay, meaning Chardonnay is still going to dominate versus the Brut. The Brut's going to have like 70% Chardonnay. The Rosé is going to have like, like 57%? But the red grapes, for the Rosé, is going to have about 47% of the Pinot Noir and 3% of Pinot Meunier, whereas it'll be less percentages in the Brut, okay? Because this is dominant. Similar processes in the way it's made. Of course, you have a slight skin contact to get that nice hue of rosé color for the rosé, but then just clean and crisp freshing for the Brut. So today I have a quesadilla. I had the munchies already, so I made this right away. I got a quesadilla here with mixed bitter greens. I have some button mushrooms in there, roasted garlic and onion, with some pepper jack cheese. I'm going to see how this is going to go with the rosé. Now, both of these have a style that says of being, just like dry, but creamy, rich, subtle complexities. But I think the rosé, because it leans more towards the red style, so to speak, that I think it would go best. The red fruits will probably come out more with this particular dish. Now, it's not going to have the traditional cork because it's a mini. You'll find the minis where you shop for wine. You may find it anywhere between $5.99 and $10.99 for the minis. This is a 187 single serve. The full-size bottles you'll find anywhere on sale from $15.99 up to maybe $30, depending where you shop for wine. So let's get this open. Screw cap, just works out great for a single serve wine. And here we go. We're going to give this a taste. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? Look at that foam. I mean, again, Just classic. You can see the bubbles from this. That's classic making. They've been doing this for quite a few years, right? It shows. Even in the small bottles. Now, that's only half the bottle. You see how much you got in this glass. This is a 10.5 ounce glass. So now, let's get us a nose. Oh, that nose is lovely. Strawberry. Cherry. And that color. Isn't that color beautiful? Wow. And the tiny bubbles. Beautiful. As I said, they're non-vintage. Alcohol, we're at 12% on both of these. 12% alcohol. Okay? Let's get that name back in there. Where you at? Chandon. All right. Chandon. Okay. Now, for the taste. I think I made the right choice for having it with the quesadilla, because those red fruits just come right through, and it has a nice little foam. I didn't like swish. I just let it just like slightly settle, just easily settle across my palate, because I didn't want to get the foam up, right? But it has a nice subtle foam, richness, creaminess to it, and full of flavor. Wow. And on the nose, it's exactly what you're going to taste as well. You do. Because in that sparkling wine making or champagne making process, that second process takes place in the bottle. Probably not in this case. It's probably tank pressurized so that they can fill these little bottles. But if it were full-size bottles, they're made in the bottle, so it rests on the lees, the yeast, the spent yeast, to give a little bit more complexity and richness to it. Wow, that's nice. It would be interesting to do a second fermentation in these bottles, because these are nice bottles. I can't imagine. So it has a little bunt in it too. These are nice bottles. I can't imagine, but that wouldn't be cost effective. Now, here we go. Let's give this a cut. Our quesadilla. Man, I am starving. Starving. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? So we're going to have a little bit of earthiness with the mushrooms, and the greens in here. Then that roasted garlic and onion is going to come through, and brings a little pungency and sweetness. But then the pepper jack cheese that have with that creaminess and the spiciness from the peppers in there. There we go. That's nice. Oh yeah. I've made the best choice here. I believe the regular brut will go well with it as well, but I made the best choice for this dish with the rosé. So now, Wisconsin wine guy. I've always been a Chandon fan. I've never been disappointed. This level is consistent year over year. Okay? You can't go wrong with this. In the 187s, 375s, 750s, you can find a Magnum do that. But Wisconsin wine guy is going to give this a thumbs up. Thumbs up all the way. It does not go wrong. It never disappoints. Use it for your mimosas. Use it for your blinis. Of course, you can use Prosecco, but if you want to do blinis with a sparkling wine, go ahead. But again, a very nice drinking wine if you want to get into some sparkling wine and enjoy. The rosé has a nice fruity presence to us, but it still will be dry, just so you're aware of that. The brut's going to have also a nice fruit taste to it, but it will be dry. And I think you enjoy it. I'll be opening up the brut maybe tomorrow. Since your Wisconsin wine guy saying, as always, let your palate be the guide when selecting your wines and your wine and food pairing, because this was spot on, man. I see you next time. Ciao.